Hey Brett, hey everybody. This is my response to Brett Keane's last video. I think this is kind of cool having a dialogue like this. I've had debates with people like this, but it's kind of nice just kind of having a conversation with somebody rather than trying to prove everything they say wrong and all that kind of thing. Maybe you are getting that too. I think it's kind of cool. In a way, it's kind of like telephones in the future, how we thought they'd be in the 80s. You're actually having a conversation with somebody you're seeing. Although I guess you can do that in real time now with, the new cell phones and stuff, but I don't have one of those. So, I wrote down your questions, and I'm going to answer your questions, and then I have a couple questions for you that, I hope you'll respond to. And before I get into answering those questions, I want to talk a bit about Scott Bakula, the guy from Quantum Leap and the captain of the Enterprise. One of the reasons I liked him was because I liked him in Quantum Leap. And, you're right, he does kind of have sad eyes. He looks very concerned. And, I kind of like that. I don't know, it kind of seems more genuine, even if he is an actor playing a part, whatever. I didn't see the sad eyes things as a bad thing. Like I said, to me it kind of shows a sense of concern, which I thought enhances his acting ability. I did see Remo Williams, 20 years ago or whatever. I don't remember Janeway being in it. Really, the only thing I remember about Remo Williams is that he got his name from the bottom of a bedpan. So I thought that was funny. And I remember there being an old guy who taught him to be a ninja or whatever, or an assassin, and he was like dodging bullets and stuff. And I think he grabbed the gun out of somebody's hand. But that's really all I remember from that movie. I should watch that again. Okay, so let's get on with the questions. The first question was, would I be in a religious movie or play like a disciple or something like that if there was a lot of money involved? The money would be great. I would definitely do it for money, but, I'd probably do it for free just because, I would like the exposure. I would like to be on camera. I'm not really concerned that my influence being in a religious movie is going to add to or take away from somebody's religious belief. I mean, people are going to believe what they believe, whether they see somebody playing, whatever part in a movie. Like, say, The Passion of the Christ. Say I got the role to play Jesus in The Passion of the Christ. I don't think that's going to influence anybody's decision on whether they're a believer or not. So I would most certainly play any part in the Jesus story. Why not? If anything, if people liked my part and looked at my name in the credits and found me on the computer, it would bring them to my YouTube channel or the Blip channel, and then they could start, getting their mind open in that direction. So I could only see it as a positive thing. I mean, when you asked me that, it kind of made me think about what I do at the church. I make church videos, and in those church videos, I don't come right out and say I'm an atheist. The guy I work for, he knows I'm an atheist, but I don't think that they tell the other people I'm an atheist. I mean, it's kind of obvious that I am since I destroy religion in every video, but I don't actually come out and proselytize atheism in the church videos. So when you ask me if I would play a disciple, I kind of feel that way, And there's been other atheists who have played roles, like George Carlin played a priest in that movie Dogma, and that was hilarious. So I would kind of see it like that. In fact, I can appreciate the irony in it. Like, who's that? Like Henry Rollins. He's played a cop in a couple movies. That's hilarious when I see Henry Rollins playing a cop. So I would play a priest. I'd play Jesus. I'd like to be Satan. That'd be hilarious. But Satan in the Jesus story has a pretty small role. So I would choose a disciple over Satan just so I would have more camera time. And, I think it would be good to be Judas. I think that would be hilarious rather than Peter. But Peter probably's got a big role, so, I would do it, whatever. And the money doesn't really matter, but the money would be good. The next question is, would I lose respect for a YouTube atheist that I admire if they converted back to Christianity? And, honestly, I would have to probably say yes a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't totally not watch them anymore or totally disrespect them or turn my back on them, because people are certainly free to believe whatever they want to believe. But if I was to see Thunderfoot or Pat Condell or anybody I respect, and I don't want to get into the list because that comes in a later question, convert back to religion, at first I would think they were joking, because I really don't think that once someone comes to a philosophical level of understanding skepticism, how they could revert back to blind faith. However, there could be something that happens, a vision or something. I would want to hear what it is that converted them back, and then I would, weigh the evidence. I'm not sure that that would convince me or not. It would have to be some pretty overwhelming evidence. But I don't think I would lose respect for them, but if they started, turning into like a Christian proselytizer, I probably wouldn't want to sit through that, no matter who it was. So, plus with me, there's kind of a, there's some YouTube atheists that I will watch and have respect for, and there's other YouTube atheists which are like my friends. I'm not just going to turn my back on my friends. So when you talk about like Thunderfoot and Pat Condell, Thunderfoot's never talked to me. Pat Condell, he gave me a couple compliments back when I started. But I have other people who are friends, or I consider friends on YouTube. YouTube's kind of weird because when you watch somebody a whole lot and you comment on their videos and they respond back, you kind of build a friendship with them, but sometimes it's one-sided because you're getting a lot more exposure to them than they are of you. And that's another reason why I'm kind of liking this conversation, because, we're kind of exposing each other, talking, being friends, rather than just little comments here and there and here and there. And it's not so one-sided, it's kind of mutual, so that's really kind of cool. And I have some other YouTube friends like that too, who I have conversed with, at length. So I wouldn't just stop being a friend with somebody if they converted back to Christianity. But say if Thunderfoot started, reading out of the Bible and preaching from his heart about the message of Jesus, I probably wouldn't watch those videos anymore. Because I don't want to see anybody proselytize me. I wouldn't want to see, you proselytize to me. I don't want to see me proselytizing. I don't want to hear my mom proselytizing. I don't want to hear that stuff anymore. I've already heard it all. Okay, the next question is, what kind of TVs and movies and stuff like that am I into? Well, for TV, I'm kind of into some primetime television. I usually eat supper and watch TV. And I like a lot of reality competition stuff. I like American Idol. I like America's Got Talent, Dancing with the Stars, Hell's Kitchen. I love Chef Ramsay. I think he's freaking hilarious. And I like some science fiction TV shows if they're good. They just took a couple great ones off the air. V and No Ordinary Family. I was into those. I liked T-Rose a lot when they were on. I'm not so much about cop shows. There's a couple of them I watch, like SVU, sometimes I'll watch. I've watched the new Hawaii Five-0 a couple times, but I'm usually not into cop shows because I just hate cops. I think they're, bullies and have psychological problems and cause more harm than good in a lot of cases. So I don't like shows that glorify the police. I just think it's unrealistic. For movies, I like movies. I don't get to go to the big screen a lot, but I do have Netflix, and I've watched a lot of movies, online, and DVDs getting sent to me and all that stuff. I like movies that are thrilling, thrillers. I like sci-fi. If a movie can be sci-fi and adventure and thrilling at the same time, that's freaking great. Like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, most of the Star Treks, things like that I like a lot. Back in the day, Schwarzenegger movies, Stallone did a lot of great movies. All the actors you named I like, De Niro, Al Pacino. I don't remember who all you named now, but I liked all those guys. And a couple guys I wanted to throw into that list was Christian Slater and Val Kilmer. As far as I know, I've seen every Christian Slater and Val Kilmer movie. I just love those guys. Christian Slater I like on a personal level. I just like the way he portrays himself. When he was young, people say he was like a young Jack Nicholson, but I think he kind of took it to a whole new level. If you've never seen the movie Pump Up the Volume, check out that movie. If you've never seen Heathers, check out that movie. If you've never seen True Romance, check out that movie. I just think Christian Slater is freaking awesome. And Val Kilmer too, I like him a lot too. He's made a lot of great movies. I'm not going to list them all off, but I just think he's a real well-developed actor, and I've watched his career since the 80s. And I want to mention Christian Bale too. He's done a lot of other movies besides the Batman movies, and I think he was great as Batman. But American Psycho, if you've never seen that, check it out. And he's done a few other movies that were great. The Machinist was great. I just like Christian Bale. He's real cool. Okay, and then you asked me about music. Now, you know, I'm all about some music. I'm not real big on the country thing, although I could find some, you know, old Hank Jr., Waylon Jennings from the 70s I might like or whatever. Some old outlaw country, but for the most part, I don't listen to too much country music. Everything else I like. I'm not real big on rap, but I do like some NWA from back in the day. I thought Eminem's first couple albums were good. Snoop Dogg, it's cool. Whatever. Dr. Dre, Ice Cube. I like Ice Cube movies. I think he's hilarious. He's a really good actor. But for the most part, the Beatles my favorite band. Old Van Halen, Metallica, Aerosmith, especially Aerosmith from the 70s. I mean, those albums were just great after great after great. Big Kiss fan. I'm at least a one-star general in the Kiss Army. I've seen them like 5 times, maybe 6. AC/DC. I love AC/DC. I love Stone Temple Pilots. I liked Guns N' Roses back in the day, so whenever the lead singer of STP, Scott Weiland, formed with the Guns N' Roses guys and made Velvet Revolver, I thought all that was cool. Alternative, I don't get into a whole lot, but I do love Pearl Jam. I just love Eddie Vedder. I think he's awesome. Awesome singer, awesome thinker, and just a really cool guy. Frank Zappa, I'm real into Frank Zappa. I mean, I guess that's kind of an acquired taste. I listened to him some when I was young, but over the past several months I've been vegging out on him and, you know, listened to all of his albums in order, which was quite a feat. So I saw where he was coming from and where he went to, and I like a lot of it. I mean, some of it's kind of but I mean, some of it is just freaking genius. Lately I've been vegging out on Rammstein and The Cult. Man, both those bands just freaking face to the grindstone rock and roll, man. I love The Cult. I love Rammstein. Okay, then the next question was about tattoos and piercings. I don't have any tattoos. I don't have any piercings. I really don't understand the need to poke a hole in your body. I mean, if people want to do that kind of thing, it's their body. I don't have nothing against it, really. But it's just not for me. I have no desire to puncture my body and stick metal through it. I have considered some tattoos in the past. When I was young, I wanted to get Conan standing on a rock with "What does not kill us makes us stronger" on my shoulder. And then for a while, when I was a devout Christian, I was wanting to get Yahweh in Hebrew tattooed on my arm. Boy, am I glad I didn't do that. But I'm probably not going to get no tattoos. I always thought that if I became independently wealthy, and I might still do this if I ever become a millionaire, maybe get a little star tattoo right here. Damn train. Get a little star tattoo right here, you know, because I'm cosmic. I think that might be cool. But for the most part, I don't plan on getting any tattoos. And then you mentioned Variablast. I think he's got a guy peeing on his forehead up here. I don't know what else he's got going on. But yeah, he's kind of strange. You know, I was kind of buds with Variablast for a while, but he just seemed to take the defensive on with everybody, and he kind of changed, I think, and kind of went off the deep end. I mean, I'd still talk to him. I think he's made some bad decisions, but who hasn't? Everybody's made mistakes in the past, whatever. I'm not here to judge Variablast, but he's definitely an odd one, and I definitely wouldn't get the things tattooed on my face that he has on his face, that's for sure. I mean, except for the little star thing I talked about, I wouldn't get a facial tattoo anyway, so whatever. But almost everyone I know has tattoos, especially, you know, on YouTube. I know many people have tattoos. You know, some of my good friends have tattoos, whatever. It's their thing. It's not my thing, whatever. Then you asked me about my favorite YouTubers. Now, I don't want to leave anybody out or piss anybody off, but, you know, people realize I got 2,600 something subscribers, and, you know, I'm friends with probably 50 to 100 people, so I would like to get everybody in on a list and plug everybody's channel, so please don't feel I'm leaving you out, because I have some very good friends that also make YouTube videos, and I'm just going to name like 4 or 5 of the top guys who are or are not acquaintances of mine that I just like watching. Like, if I see a video by them, I'll watch it. And these are also atheists. These are YouTube atheists that I feel are a must-watch every time. Number one being Phil Helenius. Man, if Phil Helenius puts out a video, I'm on it. I got to watch it a couple times. I think Phil Helenius does a great freaking job. I love his voice. I love his logic. I like his methodology of making videos. He'll show a lot of cool visuals and usually have a voiceover. But even if not voiceovers, I still like Phil Helenius videos. I just think he has a beautiful mind. The next one, The Amazing Atheist. I always watch Amazing Atheist videos. And for the most part, I agree with him most of the time. I mean, he's pretty outrageous and over the top. And there's been maybe a couple times I might have disagreed or wondered why is he saying this. But for the most part, I am on board, with things he says and the observations that he has. And so I just always watch the TJ videos. I've been watching them for years. I love him. Hope he never stops. The next one is you, Brett Keane. I've seen almost all of your videos. I mean, you've cranked out a whole lot, so it would not be true if I said I've seen every video you've ever made. But I would have to say that I've seen 90 to 95% of them. I mean, once in a while one gets by me, but I usually watch what you do. And like I said, I was watching you long before I had a camera and made videos, so I was watching you back in the day. There's probably some early videos that you have that aren't online or available anymore that I haven't seen. But other than that, I usually watch what you do. And then another one is Rosebushy, who is a friend of mine. I consider him a friend. I like everything that he's done. He was pretty much the one who convinced me into atheism. It started with StephBot, and I recommend StephBot to everybody, especially the first 100 videos or so, where he leads you through a philosophical ladder that just builds skepticism and reasons to be an atheist and an anarchist. So I highly recommend StephBot. But it was Rosebushy who pushed me over the top. He had the same kind of logic, but he has a down-home, real solid grasp on, communicating. And so I'll always be grateful to him for that. So I watch all Rosebushy videos. Though lately he started a new channel, and for some reason those videos aren't showing up in my sub box, so I don't know what's up with that. But I think his new channel is called Last Sheet on the Roll, so everybody check him out. The next one is Pyro314. Now here's one of those cases where, I'm sure he likes me fine, but I just love Pyro, and I'm sure I've seen way more videos of him than he has of me, and he's made a lot more videos than I have. So to me, he's almost like a close friend. But, he probably, he would recognize me. He's made some videos to me. I don't think he would say that about me like I'm his personal friend, because, he's kind of doing his own thing. But he knows who I am, and I just love Pyro314. He's got one of the most philosophical, thought-out minds ever. And I just don't even know if I've ever disagreed with anything that he's said. And I guess there is some kind of things I a little bit disagree with, but I'm hesitant to say, because he's one of the few people who I would openly admit has thought about shit more than I have. And I've learned a lot from him. So Pyro314, I try to watch everything he does. The next one's Pat Condell. Obviously, I've seen everything Pat Condell has done. I haven't always really agreed with him. Sometimes he's a little aggressive, maybe in the wrong direction, but it's his thing, and he's free to think and feel whatever he does. But I'm definitely on the same page with him about the skepticism and, being an atheist. And I understand where he's coming from a lot of the times. And he has good delivery. He's just very entertaining. I just love Pat Condell. And the last one I'm going to name is Sentient Raven. Now, I don't have a lot of personal dialogue with Sentient Raven, but I've been watching him for years. His old channel was Helgeek, so maybe you know Helgeek. He's from Iceland. And I just think he has a very nice, thought-out logic and delivery about atheism and different atheist ideas. His new channel is Sentient Raven, so y'all should check him out. Helgeek is a real cool guy. Okay, then the second part of that question, are there any Christian YouTubers that I watch? Well, I used to watch Gear Up a lot, even though I think he's a giant bonehead. I just thought he was hilarious and fun to watch. And Firefly, I'm friends with Firefly too. I guess after you kind of went on hiatus, me and him talked for a while, so I'm good buds with Firefly, though I haven't heard from him in a while. So I'd watch Firefly videos. But other than that, not really. You know, as I was saying when we were talking, I used to have some back and forth with Yokup. And Yokup would be nice, and then he'd backstab you, and then be nice and backstab you. So I'm very against two-faced backstabbing people, so I'm kind of against all that, and that's why I don't pursue conversations with Yokup anymore, because, you know, fuck him. And as I said earlier, I really don't care to watch people proselytize Christianity to me. I mean, I've heard it all. I study Christianity. You know, I'm a minister for the church, so, you know, it never ceases to amaze me some of the out there things some creationists or religious people will say. So I always keep my ear open for that kind of stuff because, like I said, it never ceases to amaze me, but I don't actively, you know, type Christian or anything like that into the YouTube search box and look for Christian videos, you know. Psh, screw those guys. They can find me. Then there's another category I would like to mention that you really didn't ask me about, was kind of some others who aren't necessarily atheists and aren't Christians either. And one is Tiptoe Chick. Now, she doesn't make a whole lot of videos anymore, but she was a witch, kind of a white witch, and she went to MySpace for a while. I don't even know if she's making videos anymore, but I really liked Tiptoe Chick when she was making videos. And Venus Satanus, who's satanic, she makes some interesting videos. She said she was going to have a back and forth kind of debate / dialogue with me a month or so ago, and I haven't heard nothing back from her, so I'm thinking I might initiate it myself, and I think that would be interesting, and I don't want to disrespect her, but she's a theistic Satanist, so I think that will be interesting, especially if any Christians tune in. You know, I hope to slam them with the same kind of thing, because theistic Satanism and theistic believing in God, you know, same thing. I mean, they believe different stuff, whatever, but they're still believing in giant imaginary beings, so I hope to dispel a lot of that stuff. Okay, and then you asked about new movies. What kind of new movies would I be interested in seeing? I'm interested in the superhero movies. I haven't seen Green Lantern or Thor or Captain America yet, so I'll probably check them out on DVD. I like superhero stuff. I like science fiction stuff. I like anything that's thrilling and adventurous. I like Brad Pitt movies, Schwarzenegger. I don't know if he's ever going to make movies anymore. But I love Terminator movies. I'm anxious to see the new Conan. I hope they don't destroy it. I really wasn't pumped when I saw the commercial, but Conan the Barbarian is one of the best movies ever made. But I think Conan the Destroyer is one of the worst movies ever made. So I'm hoping they do it justice and bring Conan back with a vengeance, because I would love to see some Conan movies. I don't know who the new guy is. He certainly isn't as physically as impressive as Schwarzenegger was, but if he's a good actor and he can pull it off, that's great. I guess one of the things that got me down in the commercial, he's like, "My name is Conan." And it's not Conan, okay? It's Conan. It's Conan, and then when Conan O'Brien came out, he used to have to make it a point saying, "It's not Conan, it's Conan. It's Conan. It's Conan." And now this new Conan is saying his name is Conan, I think is pretty freaking lame, okay? It's Conan, always has been. Conan O'Brien is fine, but this new actor guy really has no right or business changing Conan to Conan. I mean, that's like Batman saying, "My name is Batman," or something, you know what I mean? It's just kind of lame. I mean, it's Conan. That's what the author named him. Oh, and the Planet of the Apes movie. I saw the Planet of the Apes movie already on DVD. This is probably the kind of movie you just watch once or twice. It's not as visually stunning as some other Planet of the Apes movies, but the story was great, the movie was great, and I highly recommend it for everybody. I just thought they did a really good job on it. Okay, and then the last question you asked me was, do I see any positives about religion? And that's very hard for me to answer. It took me a few minutes to think about some positives about religion. And I guess the first one is if it can actually make a person good, I mean, if a person really is going to be bad without the religion, then it's better they have the religion than not. I mean, even if they're going to live a philosophical lie their whole life, if it makes them nonviolent and charitable and whatever else we might deem as good virtue, if it's going to do that for them, then that's better than the opposite. So that's number one on the list. If it makes a person actually a better person, good. The second thing is comfort in death. Now, personally, I feel better knowing the truth about death and living a truthful and virtuous life. But I understand in situations where someone might be close to death, or if a loved one dies, and I've been in this situation where a loved one dies and I'm at a funeral or something and they say something like, well, he's in a better place now, or something to that effect. I'm like, who am I to say otherwise? I'm not there to rain on their parade with atheism. If they need to feel that their loved one is in heaven and it gives them some comfort, that's their life, it's their business. I have questioned my inner self about that, because I feel like if somebody watches a bad thing happen and doesn't stand up to help solve that problem, then they're kind of part of the problem. However, I think there's a time and a place for it, and at a funeral, probably not the time to tell somebody that their loved one is just dead and that's it, zilcho, flatline. I try to be a little more sensitive to their feelings. In these instances, they know what I think already anyway, so there's no point ripping open the scab like that. If they need to feel comforted, I guess that's the second thing I would say about religion, is that it does bring some people some comfort when it comes to death. And then the third thing is kind of related to the first thing, is that a lot of people who are real bad alcoholics or real bad drug addicts that go to like AA or NA, I guess the Christians have a method to help them get by. Now, I personally, I don't like religion, and it's almost like you're pulling my teeth here, getting me to come up with these three. But if a person is an alcohol or drug abuser so bad that they've driven their life into a hole, beating their spouse, beating their kids, wrecking their car, and putting other people in danger, I mean, if they have a serious problem where they're a menace to society and AA or NA can help them, and they need the religion as a crutch to pull them out of that hole, so that's why it relates to the first one, if it actually makes them a better person. If they can get some kind of positive benefit out of that, where they're not a menace to society, then I guess that's a positive. Now, personally, in all three of these instances, I still prefer the truth for myself and prefer the truth to the rest of the world. But, that was the question, could I find any positives about religion? And I guess those were the only three I could come up with. Okay, now I know I've gone on for a while, but I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'll try to be quick about it, and I hope that you'll respond to these questions. The first one is would you go to a church service? Okay, now I'm not talking about just going to a church to, do the blasphemy challenge or something like that, or go to a wedding or a funeral, which might be in church. I'm talking about if your wife or your friend said, please, really, just come to one church service with me. Would you go to the church service and sit there and listen to what they had to say? Would you do that? My second question is I know that you used to be religious and then became an atheist, similar to myself. Whenever you became an atheist and you started talking to your friends about it, how did they take it? I know in my situation I lost a lot of friends, and almost all of them because of it. And I was just wondering, in your real life, do you still have a lot of friends who are Christian? Did you lose a lot of them? How did all that go? I'm interested to know your experience with telling your friends about atheism. I know that you had a lot of problem with your family. You've said that in many videos, but you haven't talked about your friends so much, so I wonder how that all went. And my third question is when we die, if we're wrong, and Christianity turned out to be true in some form, and there was a God and a Jesus and all that stuff, certainly atheists headed to hell, but we would still have our day in court. I am wondering, would you choose to go to hell? Because some atheists I've talked to said they would choose to go to hell rather than suck up to evil God or whatever. And I understand that, but I also feel that they really are just saying that because they don't believe in hell. I think that if hell was an actual real place, pretty much anybody would screw over their best friend to stay out of, burning forever, let alone burning for just 5 seconds in hellfire. So I'm wondering, are you the type of atheist who would choose hell, or would you plead your case to God? And if you were to plead your case to God, what would you say? How could you justify, your atheist proselytizing and all that jazz? I think about that kind of thing a lot, so I just wonder what your thoughts on that were. And my last question is, if you received some kind of heavenly sign, how would you convey it? If God or Jesus appeared to you in some manner that would be acceptable for you to believe that it was them and that you weren't being fooled by Satan or some other kind of thing, some other kind of rationally explained coincidence, if something occurred that actually convinced you that the whole Jesus stuff was real, how would you convey that in a video? How could you express your first person experience well enough to convince the viewer? And if you would even do that, and also if you were to convert back, would you take down all your atheist videos? Would you just take those offline and never show them to anybody again? Maybe destroy them? I mean, what would you do? This was kind of related to a few questions that you asked me about if the YouTubers that I respect, if they converted, would I lose respect for them? And I'd have to say, if someone like Phil Helenius, for example, who's made a YouTube career out of pure science and logic, flawless, almost unquestioning, if he came online and said that he talked to God, in a very Abraham manner, God spoke to him and said thus, what would it take to actually convince me that he wasn't, pulling my leg, that he was sincere and real? Or Pat Condell or yourself or whatever. I know that a couple months ago you made a video talking about you were sitting on a bench and you felt your prayer had been answered, and you kind of left it up in the air. And I remember that day because at least 3 people, if not 4 or 5, came to me that same day. Brett Keane turned into a Christian. What do you think of that? And they asked my opinion. I was like, I held my opinion, went and watched the video, and I was just like, well, I see what Brett's doing here. He's not converted back. Certainly that experience, though wondrous and heartfelt, wasn't enough to kill all that skepticism that I've been listening to for years. So how would you convey that to the people? I mean, I'm sure you would flat out just tell your experience, but maybe you have some kind of angle that would be interesting to hear about that I'm not thinking about. So that's my last question. How would you convey that, and would you take your videos down and start proselytizing for Jesus from now on? Okay, well, I look forward to hearing back from you. Peace.